Just said, thought I'd show you this. It's kind of a nice way to stay organized that you can reuse over and over and over again. Just put your resistors and that kind of stuff. But these are like the foam inserts to a lot of shipping materials that you get, and you just usually throw this away with the boxes. But this is a great little tool to, keep yourself organized. So I just put them all in a row and label them and stuff like that. Pick them off as I need them. So once again, I almost got beat up on something. They are real close to each other, and when I was looking at it from a distance, you don't even notice it, but that is a K and those are M's. So I basically was about to put 3 1 meg resistors right on top of each other, and that's how easy you can miss something right there. It's that simple. So don't solder everything else until you check your work. I'm just going to put all this stuff together and then just go to point to point to point and just check off all of the different resistance and everything like that. So just be careful. That's how I almost got screwed. So got the right one now. Part of the reason I'm doing this video is just to show you you're a novice. Admit your mistakes. That, to me, is a triangle of where these would go. I didn't realize there's a triangle right here. This is actually where these need to go. Because I was looking at it over here, and that is the triangle. As you can see, there's the triangle, just like these a triangle. But as I was going from this lead to this lead, it didn't make any sense. So, gotta take those up off the board. This is why you check your work before you start soldering. But I'm no authority on this stuff, but it is worth just knowing that you will make these common mistakes, even with gut shots and all the other different things to go by. You just will make these mistakes. All right, so now that I've got all the pieces together, there's a few things that just didn't make sense from the gut shots to this, but I think it's all pretty much there. Again, I don't recommend the way I'm going around these poles like this, because it would absolutely make it a freaking nightmare to unsolder these type of deals. But at the same point in time, I don't think it's going to be a problem for me. I'm going to double check and triple check all the values, make sure everything is good. The components are pretty basic and stuff like that. You can read them pretty clearly, so you can see that's I think it's a 0.1 UF, yeah, or a 1 UF, yeah, no, 0.1. Anyway, so I just put these all in the same order so we can get them like that. But this is pretty basic, so gonna go ahead and check some resistance and then check it off, and then I will start soldering them. Okay, so this one is completed. All we have to do is start putting together the chassis with the wires up here. I'm probably going to work on that right now, get those things rocking and rolling, and then we will start creating the leads from here on. Or I may actually tackle these lead wires first, but I'm not exactly sure. I'm probably actually going to start with just getting these grounds and then getting everything like that, like those pieces. I think that's the next thing I'll do. Well, we got the board, the little riser screws and stuff like that. I'm just looking for placement. Obviously, we don't want to put anything down yet, because we're going to have to get all these cables routed, and they have to go underneath the eyelets, so they're going to actually get soldered to those parts. So I got to keep this pretty free and clear, but I know where everything is going to go now. I do need to figure out where I'm going to be putting I think I have to put a couple of points on here for the ground. So we've got a couple of points there, and then a whole bunch of these little guys, but yeah, I'll put one over there and one over there. So anyways, that's what we're doing. So we're just putting the rest of the points on here. I'm not exactly sure what some of these guys do, and I think this is just maybe for this is the same chassis for I think the Trainwreck and the Express and a couple of different things. Just depends on where they actually put them, but they may be earth points as well. So check that out, and we'll figure that out by the gut shots. So I just put the rod that it came with. It's just basically straight copper. Just put a little bit of flux on each one of these things. I taped down over on this side so it was not going to slide. I just got this soldered in place, and then I just removed the tape and just put a little contact part there. But it's pick up the amplifier from that thing, so it's super solid. Now, I did want to say this is something that I had to send to Nick. The gut shots are not identical. I think they upgraded or changed colors since 2018, since they actually did this, but this is, I believe, the shielded cable. It's definitely different as far as its braid on the outside. I think that's the shielded cable. It's the only one. I'd imagine this is going to be the red and the black for, the twisted braid for the heaters, which makes total sense to me. There's a lot of pictures of blue right here. That's the same gauge. And then the green is also the same gauge, and I would assume that is going to be for the ground wire. So those make sense to me. But when we got these are Teflon. These guys right here. I don't know why there's two blacks. I guess it just gave us enough to do what we needed to do. But there's yellow and there's red and this. But I think that this was replaced with an orange color. But I don't know specifically what they're for. That's the only problem. So as I connect all these different leads, I want to make sure that I'm using the same gauge cable. But I'm not exactly sure why the Teflon versus this. Why can't, I mean, like in the Saldana amp, just to make it clear, I use the same gauge cable everywhere, and it sounds fantastic. There's no problems with it. I don't know if this is just a good enough cable, like you just don't need to spend the same amount of money on this. Maybe this is way more expensive than this, and as far as a kit, that's how they save a couple bucks. I don't know. Maybe this is better because it's got a Teflon coating, and it's maybe for whatever reason. I'm just letting you know that we got an email going out there. All the same gauge from all these different things, from the power transformer to the output transformer. They're all the same gauge for the most part. So I would rather replace this if I had no other questions than just use this or even this guy right here, because this is a thicker gauge. And I could probably do the exact same thing with that. We'll figure it out. But anyways, those are questions in my mind of what we use these for. Here's what I ended up doing. I just took a piece of the wire based off of this. It could have been just a simple wire. It doesn't have to be that complicated, but the shielded cable was the thing that gave me a little bit of confusion, and I feel kind of stupid because it literally says shielded right there. So this is the shielded cable. Basically, it is double braided, so it's got a center. You can see it's like just like a regular shielded cable, like a guitar cable or anything else, but it's got the outside wire, which is right here how he wrote it. So the center wire is going to that pole, which has got the 1 meg resistor on it, and then this right here is the shielded wire that's getting crossed over to that. And then this wire is going to be going up to the first point of the ground. So that's what we did, but I just basically snipped a piece of the copper wire, just went across and just put it in there. That's how it is. So, groovy. Building amps, hanging with the kitty. Can't avoid it. But he earned his name Watson because he likes building amps. Here's where we are so far. I've got most of this stuff all wired up. Pretty much every resistor has been used except for the ones for the actual for the heaters. Those are the last of those, and then I've got 4 more of those guys right there. They're, I think, the 1.5K, and I'm going to build those up. But I'm actually going to run the lines for the heaters first because those have to be twisted, so that should be easier to get to than that. But the rest of it is just connecting pretty much the boards to each other and to the components here. So once we've got all that, pretty much all this is wired. This is all wired. This is all wired. I've got some leads coming off of the boards. You can see them right there. They just have to be connected once they're put in. Got the indicator connected. It's all right here. Power. I did have to contact Nick a couple of times just to get clarification because there was a few things that were on here that didn't make any sense. Like, for example, 2-star ground, which just basically means this right here, to the chassis, and then these were the heaters. Those, I guess, just well, I guess that just means tied off. I guess that just means tied off. But so these right here, that green doesn't exist anymore, so that's where it's got a little bit confusing, but he clarified that. I said the grays go to the ground, but the browns, I guess this just, because it's twisted, they just get tied off. But those were also, there's a blue here, so that's maybe what that green was. And then we had a whole bunch of other colors that came from here. The only ones that we used from this particular part, which was just a red and black. So that's where that actually went. And then over here, we're going to be using the whites. Those are actually going to go to the diodes right there. So that's what these are. So we left those totally separate. I tied off the browns and the blue. And then I took the gray from this side and the gray from this side, and I put them down into the ground over here. And then from the output transformer, I got the gray and pink that was taken off. And then I used the blue to go to one side of the 12AX7s, and then the other side was the brown going to the other side of the pin 7 of the 12AX7s. And then we've got for the other side of this power output transformer for basically for the ohms selector, we've got all this. This is the tap that runs from here with the 100K resistor, and then you get to 4.7 runs across that as well. So those are all ready to go. And I'll show you some close-up shots after I get to it, but I just want to show you where we're at now. Okay, this was really confusing. Apparently from here, this is just where I started getting a little bit messed up. So this right here where the primary was coming out, on this side, this is where a blue and brown set was coming out. And I wasn't sure what I was supposed to do with this because I saw that there was brown and blue over here, which connected to the EL84s. And then they would run concurrently to the other sockets over here, which are the 12AX7s. That all made sense, but we already had a brown and a blue. But he was basically trying to tell me is like, these are definitely the power. These are for the heaters, and they needs to go, one side goes 1 to 1, the other goes, it doesn't really matter, it's not going to be a polarity thing, but they basically need to be going on 4 and 5, which is according down here to 4 and 5. And so those will run over to these particular things, sending the current over to those guys, so they'll all get all the voltages they need. And the output just stays this. So what I'll show a picture of the gut shot. It's just that it was right behind these particular wires. There was 2 other ones that were inside these, and that was just what I was missing. So this right here, just be helpful if the brown wires were coming from here on the layout all the way around, and then basically tied up to this these first 2, and then the rest of them go like that. It would just been a little bit more clear, because we do have it here and it's very clear, but we were lacking that here. They were just in blue and they just said heaters. Yeah, browns, which they're not even there. So either way, I think we got that figured out. And again, the green wire does not exist anywhere on that power transformer. It's just gone. So what we're going to do is we're going to clip this off, and we're just going to take those heaters, run them back around, connect them to 4 and 5, and that's all I need to do. Okay, so that's where this is going to be coming. Run those up there. Those go to the first set of tubes, our first set of the 4 and 5, which is right there. But then we're going to do the heater tubes to connect all of the other 4 and 5s, and then they're going to run up to right up here. So we got to connect all those wires and do all the twisties. Fun. So I wanted to confirm something after I started putting these wires together, and I was just thinking, why should they be on the same? But I think these output leads right here, that goes to pins 4 and 5 on the primary EL84s, they definitely have continuity. So when I was testing all the points from here, for example, like this point, all the way to this point, you know, I didn't get anything. I get stuff here. So just, you know, the black is active, which is fine. But when I touch just the red, which would be this point, get it to here, 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 all the way to here, all the way to here, those are fine. But they both, if these have continuity between them, both of these guys, then I guess they're all going to be linked like that. So hope that's how it's designed. Sweet. We are finally getting to the final stages here. Very happy to report. Got a lot of clarification on a few things that we need to look at. So we're going to take a look at this together. Now, according to the sheet, again, I'm a noob. This is the second amp I've ever built. I'm going to build a little bunch of circuits and fix a lot of crap, but this was confusing to me. So to me, I get it. Whites go to diodes. Pretty simple. I know what diodes are, so I can do that. There's no particularly polarity or anything like that, so I don't have to worry about that. The browns, let's say heaters, this is probably just something that if you build amplifiers is extremely basic to you, and you just need to know that's where they're going to go. They're just going to go to where the filament tubes are for the EL34s, which are basically here. But from what I understood by just looking at this chart and why it was confusing to me is because we got a black wire on 4, and then we got a white or the red wire on 5, okay? And I had to figure out, okay, so I've got that goes to that and this goes to this, okay? That's black. But in the gut shots that were at the actual amplifier, these colors were reversed. So I don't know if it makes a big difference. I think it's just because of alternating current and the way it actually does what it does. But essentially the continuity of these wires, these brown ones, okay, those are from the output, the primary. But if you see out here on this side, which is where it would be, on that side, on the right side, there's no browns coming out of that. Now this one says heaters browns, but look at the color. That's obviously not brown. I have no idea why that's not brown. This should have been brown, but for whatever reason, they're aqua. But either way, what that twisty things together, I thought that just meant tied off like this, but what that actually meant was twisted because it was alternating current. So that's why you want to do that. You want to twist the wires together to get rid of any kind of, I think it's a 60 cycle hum. That's what I believe. I may be wrong about that, but I believe that's why they twist those particular wires. Anyways, so as we follow down the rest of this, we've connected pretty much everything. We've got, the switch, the main switch. Some of these other things are not wired up yet because they're going to be a lot easier to assemble if you've already done this. So you do need to make sure that you have all of your wires already pre-done here. And these are the ones that are going to break off. And essentially, like, that's the greens are going to go to ground, all of those greens. This red wire is actually going to jump off to this guy right here, which is, you can see if we trace it down, it's right there in the back, falls away, and it goes down to the 1 point, or the 1K resistor, the 5 watt, okay? And then some of the other wires, blah, blah, blah. Like, for example, this wire that's jumping off from this point, it's blue. I should have just used yellow, but I'm stupid. I just didn't do that. And I chose this was included in the kit, and it's very, very thin. It's Teflon, and I'm sure it's perfectly fine wire. I'm going to actually keep this stuff for building pedals because it's really thin. It's very easy to work inside of a small thing. But I ended up having so much of this left over that there was no real reason not to just use the full gauge wire, even though it's probably overkill. I decided to do it like that. So the finishing steps of this right now is I've already crossed off all of the, right here where it says, like, this right here, it's just ... to B plus 5. And that's where the B plus 5 is going to be. Now these wires are going to get connected and jumped off over here, but we're going to put them in the case first and run all that kind of jazz. So where all these splits were, essentially where it says to OT 8 ohm tap, you can see right here, that's where this breaks off and it goes up like this. Actually, I'm sorry, it goes from this, the 8 ohm tap, and it goes off of here and it says to 100K FB resistor. So you just kind of see these things. They're not broken. I mean, I would like them, some kind of dotted lines. You could kind of see the trace. It just makes it easier for me. Now that I know what I'm doing and now that I've built this amplifier and I'll be, turning it on pretty soon, I can pretty much understand why this is simplified like that. But to a person that's never built this amp before, it does not make any sense. I mean, obviously, browns, those aren't browns, and they should have been coming from this one, not from this one. But as you can see, it's from over here. So I don't know if that's backwards or whatever, but I used the right cables for the right things. Oh, and also there is a brown and a blue over here as well, which is what I connected it to. And all this just basically says the secondary, which is the thing. I just don't know. Maybe it was flipped. That just might be the case. But we're good to go. I think we can just go ahead and drop it in the chassis and then start wiring everything accordingly and just check off what we need to check off. Like, there's only this one wire. These are going to be going to the standby, which is what I just put like a little SB, just so I know that's actually going to be going up to here to the switch. Boop. Just those two guys. Once those are wired. Then everything else, I'm just going to keep tracing down and then check off the book as I go. Just put a little check mark. It's like, yeah, those are good. Those are good. And then again, this is the back of this guy. So you can see how those leads are going to, that's going to the B plus, the green is going to the B plus 5. the orange is going to the B+4, and then that's the B+3 right there. So that's what we're left with. The rest of them are going to be just wires that are just going to go straight from the pin straight to the top of these things, and I'll be done with it. So that's that. So I will definitely update this in my own way with the shots and the inside stuff, but this is basically what you needed to see, and I hope that's it. I hope that this gray cable, I'm probably going to leave it to where I can get to it, but I mean, essentially, you just tie them off, get some heat shrink, cut them a little bit longer than they need to be, and then after you put the heat gun on, you just squeeze them down, and then that'll keep them from touching anything. So, groovy. What do you think? Think it's done? I think it might be actually done. Yeah, I gotta clean some flux off, but that's not bad. Oh, this thing's looking roady. Dang. I'm gonna put some tubes in it. Light it up.